Because Mark Carlos was just on Jane Doe number 3. And so he looks like he's got to finish up talking about Jane Doe number 3, and then he's got to talk about Jane Doe number 4 and Jane Doe number 5 and what else we are dying to hear. So now let's break down the defense summation so far with our friend, criminal defense attorney Brian Claypool, who is still live at the San Diego courthouse. So Brian, how is Mark Carlos doing so far?
Hey, Seema, he's doing a pretty good job. I give him a B+ right now. I mean, it's no surprise that he's going methodically through each victim and then establishing for the jury the inconsistencies in the testimony. And then he's arguing that, look, you can't trust this, it's reasonable doubt. And I think he did a really good job at the beginning. I think you played that clip. Great job. Where he said 21 times, Mr. Owen said, 5 victims. So I think what he's doing methodically for the jury is, look, these 5 lined up together, they might look good, they might smell good, but once you break each of the victims down, they fall flat. That's kind of a theme that he has, and it's really important. I think you might agree with this. When you're doing a closing argument, you need a theme that the jury can relate to, and they can identify with that. And I think Carlos did a good job with the theme.
I do agree that you need a theme. I just did not follow what the theme was so far. And okay, so let's just break this down. He's been speaking for approximately 65, maybe 66 minutes, and I think he spent 39, 40 minutes on just Jane Doe number 1 alone. And he was just harping. I don't know if he had a map. He kept going to this map thing, or it was part of the PowerPoint. Then he would come back, and then he would start talking about other issues, about Kellen Winslow, the detailing the car, that the prosecution didn't interview the detailer of the vehicle, which was a good point, that maybe if the prosecution interviewed who detailed the vehicle, they would find out, did Kellen Winslow say, hey, there's blood here, clean this up, clean that up. Okay, none of that was done. But then he goes back again to this map and talking about her not jumping over the fence, not running away. And Brian, you do recognize that a victim has no duty to run. She has no duty. You can still be a victim and stay frozen, stand still, and be victimized. You have no duty to run.
Yeah, Seema, unfortunately, I've got to disagree with you again. I think what Carlos did a good job at, in fact, I wrote it down. He mentioned how she lied about she lied about drinking. I think Jane Doe 2, he talked about lying about the menstruation. I mean, he went through and he mentioned each time that the victims weren't telling the truth. But what I thought he did well is he described how he thinks that a sexual assault victim would respond to being raped. And that's what you were just talking about. Jane Doe 1. Kellen Winslow is across the fence. He's butt naked, and he goes over the fence, and you have a chance to run, and you don't run. I mean, that's powerful stuff. And I think that what would have really helped the prosecution in this case is if they had a forensic psychologist who specializes in sexual assault victims, who could have normalized the behavior that we're hearing about Jane Doe 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, to come in and say, hey, look, they have memory issues. They don't behave in the way that we usually do when there's a sexual assault. I think the prosecution was missing that link to normalize that behavior of all these victims, and that would have neutralized Carlos in his closing argument, but we don't have that.
Okay, well, I don't think any of these lawyers is qualified to talk about being a victim of sexual assault. So that's just completely objectionable all around.